So you guys know how I'm always talking about being bold in your faith, going out and sharing Jesus, being a light for the world, boldly displaying your faith. But I know just as well as the next person that doing this can be extremely intimidating, especially when you don't feel confident enough in the knowledge that you may have with your understanding of the Bible, with your understanding of Jesus, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm about to show you a video that my boy Brando created that should help out a lot with this specific issue that you might be having. It's how Christians should approach knowledge and wisdom when it comes to your faith and the Bible and spreading the word. Check this out.
Hey man, I have atheists that attack me for my Christian faith, and they quote all these Bible verses that they see as problematic, and sometimes I just don't know how to answer.
Okay.
And even Christians from other denominations, they hear what I believe and try to pull the carpet out from under me by testing me on what I know from the Bible.
Right, okay, so you're constantly on your toes with being challenged by people who think you're wrong.
Yeah, and it's not like I don't read my Bible, because I do. But when I'm reading on my own, I don't have anyone who argues with me in my interpretation, and then when I do get challenged, I get nervous and feel like I'm letting God down if I can't defend his word.
Sure, okay, so let me give you a few things to keep in mind. Number one, being challenged is a good thing. There's not one Christian alive with perfect theology.
Okay?
God's knowledge and wisdom is up here, beyond what any of us could ever comprehend.
Right.
The Bible is God's revelation of himself given to man, meaning he inspired these over 40-plus authors to write these 66 books that we know and love as the Bible. So we've been given a small chunk of God's infinite knowledge, which, by the way, is all we need to obtain salvation and to refine ourselves as Christians, becoming more like Christ.
Okay.
But here's what's important, and I encourage you to keep this in mind. This knowledge that you gain will do nothing for you if you don't have understanding of it.
What do you mean?
Well, there's this repetitive phrase that we see from Jesus where he says, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." This idea that we have spiritual eyes and ears, where if these eyes and ears are closed, we'll miss out on what God has revealed. In Matthew 13, Jesus tells this parable of seeds that fall on different surfaces, and only the ones that fall in the rich soil take root and produce a good crop.
Okay.
And his explanation is that the seeds that didn't take root and sprout were the ones who heard the message of the kingdom and didn't have understanding. And the ones who did take root and produced a crop are the ones who truly hear the message and have understanding.
Right.
So how do we get understanding? Well, Jesus answers this in response to Peter's confession of faith a few chapters ahead in Matthew 16. Jesus puts this question to his disciples after they relate to him who others believed him to be. He asks, "Well, who do you say that I am?" And Peter blurts out, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And immediately after, Jesus blesses him and says, "Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." It's God that gives us understanding. So if you're arguing with an atheist, you need to keep in mind that this person hasn't surrendered their will to God. They have no interest in understanding, and therefore they have no understanding.
Okay.
Someone could know this Bible from cover to cover. They could have it memorized and cite you verses back and forth. But if they don't have these spiritual eyes and ears, they might as well be reading a dictionary in a language they can't speak. But as for different denominations that challenge you, we should be humble enough to say we don't know everything, and what we do know is only because God revealed it. When we do this in a manner of love, it can be beneficial for Christians to rub shoulders and sharpen each other. Not to bat each other over the head with knowledge, but to help each other in their understanding.
Makes sense.
So yes, read this Bible, get to know who Jesus is and the history of God's people. But also, be praying for the wisdom to understand it.
Okay.
Knowledge without God's wisdom is useless, and wisdom without God's knowledge is aimless. So don't worry too much about not having all the answers. Again, no one knows everything except God. What you can do is lean into these conversations with humility, using these as opportunities to grow in your knowledge of God and putting into practice the wisdom he gives you.
So I hope and I pray that that video helps you out, encourages you, and gives you more confidence. But I'd also like to share a couple verses with you that help me out when dealing with atheists and non-believers, specifically on my social media, because as you guys know, I get a lot of hate on my social media. But one of the verses that really helps me out is Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. It says, "If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet." And to give you some context from the study Bible, it says this. It says, why did Jesus tell his disciples to shake the dust off their feet if a city or home didn't welcome them? When leaving Gentile cities, pious Jews would often shake the dust from their feet to show their separation from Gentile people and their practices. If the disciples shook the dust off a Jewish town from their feet, it would show their separation from Jews who had rejected their Messiah. This gesture would show the people that they made a wrong choice, that the opportunity to choose Christ might not present itself again. Are you receptive to teaching from God? If you ignore the Spirit's prompting, you may not get another chance. So with that, this verse helps me out a lot when dealing with atheists and non-believers and such, because if they just don't accept the message of Christ, then there's no sense in us going back and forth with these people because they've already made up their mind. Shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Now, the other verse that helps me out, especially when dealing with people that just start getting hostile and angry, is Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. It says, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. And the study note in the study Bible helped break this down for me specifically. And it says, Jesus may have been referring to the contemptuous religious leaders who were so hostile to him. He was saying that he should not entrust holy teachings, or we should not entrust holy teachings to people who don't want to listen and will only tear apart what we say. So basically, when you're having conversation with people and all they want to do is try to prove you wrong, and they don't have an open mind and refuse to listen to the gospel and listen to what you're trying to tell them and talk to them about, instead of having a respectful back and forth conversation where there's understanding, if all they want to do is try to attack you and attack, the word of God and try and prove it wrong, then don't cast your pearls. Don't try to talk to them. Just walk away and leave it at that, because they're not trying to hear you out and listen. So with that said, I really hope and I pray that this helps you guys out when dealing in those situations, especially when you're out there boldly displaying your faith. You guys have an amazing, wonderful day. I'll catch you guys later. Go give Brando a follow. He's awesome. His content is amazing. I absolutely love it. He's an awesome dude too. Him and I have been chatting a lot back and forth. We're going to be going live together a little bit. So you guys have an amazing day. God bless. Go in peace.